Bonjour à tous, hello everyone, and welcome to the press conference for Moonrise Kingdom. Allow me to introduce, you need this? Allow me to introduce the people who are with us today. First things first, the couple that triggers the whole sugar on this New England island, as the two 12-year-old that fall in love and decide to elope together, as Susie, Miss Cara Hayward, and as Sam, Jared Gilman. Now on to the adults. As Captain Sharp, Chief of Police, actually the entire police corps, Mr. Bruce Willis. As Scoutmaster Ward, Mr. Edward Norton. As Susie's father, Mr. Bishop, Bill Murray, who's been in every single Wes Anderson film, including Fantastic Mr. Fox. As Cousin Ben, Mr. Jason Schwartzman. As the character only known as Social Services, Miss Tilda Swinton. As the narrator, Mr. Bob Balaban. Now, behind the camera, two persons involved in the production of the film that are not sitting with us today, but they are here in the audience. Producer Jeremy Dawson and composer Alexandre Desplat. Behind the camera still, at the far end of the table, Mr. Roman Coppola, co-script writer, whose film CQ, if I remember well, was shown in Cannes many moons ago. Welcome back.
Thank you.
And last but certainly not least, producer, director, co-script writer, Mr. Wes Anderson. Now, the first question I'm afraid I'm going to throw at you, Ms. Hayward and Mr. Gilman. You're making your film debut in this film, therefore your first time was in Cannes. So welcome to our zoo. How's it been since the film was completed, since you came to Cannes? Are you amazed? Are you surprised? Do you already hate us?
It's been awesome ever since the movie, I guess. It's been great. My life has really taken a turn for the better, and everything's been amazing, really.
It's absolutely extraordinary, and to see the movie getting the recognition that it deserves for being so amazing is just wonderful to watch.
How did you get involved with the film? Did you, through the regular process of auditions, did you want to become actors?
I didn't know that I wanted to become an actor until I actually started working on the movie. And that's when I really began to realize this is what I love doing.
I guess it kind of clicked with me sometime in elementary school that I kind of would like to be an actor. I guess after I got my manager and I was going on auditions, it kind of hit me. I went on the audition for Moonrise Kingdom back in September 2010. 6 months later and 3 callbacks, I got the part. So, yeah.
Now your side of the story, Mr. Anderson, and then we'll take questions.
Well, you know, whenever I've done a number of movies that feature children or very young people in pretty large roles, I always try to start that process of searching very early, and I think we had maybe 8 months or 10 months of searching. And the thing that you always hope and trust is going to happen. There are many interesting people along the way, but you're really waiting for this moment when you say, well, there it is. We can shut down the search for this character. And that happened with both Jared and Cara. Jared, it was really his personality. I mean, I'm watching a little quick time of these auditions, thousands of these things. And Jared, it was his personality in the interview after the audition more than even he was very good playing the scene, but he made me laugh, and I was very charmed by him immediately, and I thought I've got him. And Kara, on the other hand, she played the scene. It's a scene I'd seen done over and over and over and over by all kinds of different kids, and the way she played it, it sounded like she was making up the dialogue herself. With both of them, it was really instantaneous.
First question here, second there, and third here.
Hi.
Go ahead.
Congratulations, everybody. Stephen Schaefer here from Boston Herald. Wes, did you plunge your own romantic, youthful memories to create this wonderful film? And you see it as a family film, a particularly Wes Anderson family film. And for Bruce Willis, how was it? Any surprises going into this Wes Anderson world?
Well, I use the memory of what I remember wanting to have happen, and none of it actually occurred. But also the memory of the emotion of falling in love as a kid. That's something that that has never left me. That I hope people kind of will share.
Mr. Willis.
Hi. I found it really refreshing to be directed and to be asked to perform the part in a really specific way, the way that Wes saw the character. And in a world where a lot of films where you don't rehearse and no one really talks to you about it, it was so nice to be asked to work in a certain way. And it is about love. It's about new love and young love and love that has gotten mixed up and messed up and is on fire, and nobody knows how to get the fire out. And it's all still the same story of how everybody needs to be loved in some way, even the cops.
Question over there and then here.
My name is Roland. I'm from Dutch television, VPRO. My question is for Mr. Anderson. Moonrise Kingdom deals also with love, but also with family and responsibility. And in your films, you always work with the same people, almost also like a family. Your DOP,
Okay.
Mr. Murray. Can you tell me something about the value of those relations?
Yeah. Yes. Well, the beauty of it is with a movie like this, there are many people who I haven't worked with before who I've been wanting to work with for so long, and because I like to work with friends and work with a company of people that come back. Every movie when we start is a little bit of a reunion. And I like to think now I have a bigger family to draw on. I hope that some of the friends that I've made on this movie will be available to me in the future. But that's always been a big part of it. I think I have no real experience in the theater, but I sort of like to think of the kind of movies that I do as a bit like a theater company. So yeah, maybe that relates to it a bit.
Sir?
Good morning. Bruce Kirkland from the Toronto Sun. What an utterly charming way to launch this festival. And actually, my question emanates from what you just said about your, gathering a family around you. And I'd love to hear from the adult actors in service of a film that's almost entirely through the perspective of children. And I think Wes is also a child in terms of his perspective of the world, and that's part of the wonder of it. So at a time when most movies in Hollywood seem to be big blockbusters, this is the kind of movie I find joy in. So I'd love to hear from some of the adult actors as to why they joined this particular ensemble. So I know Bill Murray always does this, but let's hear from all of you in terms of why you're doing it. Edward Norton, for example, this is not your normal kind of movie. I love seeing you in this. Bob Balaban, you look like Santa's elf on the beach. That was wonderful. Tilda, you scared me in this movie. So I'd love to hear from you why you're in service of these marvelous children.
Miss Winton.
Well, it's clearly a family that Wes has made over the years, and it's a family I was so happy to join on a kind of camping trip. It felt like we were invited on a family to a wedding or something. It was an adventure. And I feel, as a fan of Wes's, that he's always looking at idyll somehow, and his adults are always kind of wrangling disappointment. And in this film, I think more maybe than in any other film, the adults are the disappointed ones, and the children, they got the grail. So it felt like a film that called all of us who are like after the grail to it. So it's a very, very easy family to join, I tell you. I was very happy to get that invitation.
Mr. Murray?
Well, I really don't get any other work but through Wes, so I just sit by the phone. But we really, you know, it's just, the making of these films has become more of a fun adventure all the time. And I'm just delighted. I've known Wes a pretty long time, and I'm just so happy with how he just gets better. How did you people like the movie, by the way? Did you like it? Yeah. I think it's, and I think the people that drag in, like Tilda's, you know, she's just a monstrous actress, and it's so much fun to have her in there. And Bruce is a real, you know, serious, crazy movie star. If you just walk in here, it's just, and for him to play the the part of the town cop in a one-car town it was fun. It was great, and it really pays off. He really does have the great heroic die-hard moment at the end of this silly little kids film. And I told him when I saw it, I said, it's one of the biggest laughs of any film I've ever been in. It really made me laugh so hard. And it really wouldn't have worked if he hadn't done it. I mean, we could have gotten, what's his name, the Muscles from Brussels, but it wouldn't have been the same, you know. It wouldn't have been the same.
Mr. Norton?
I relate a lot to what Wes said about the dream of being in a company of actors. I think that all of us who started out, you know, reading about Orson Welles and his Mercury Theater players, or the group theater, or you know, any of those great ensembles that work together. There's a romance to that. When you're an actor, you think about. I used to dream a lot about how fun it would be to be in a troupe like that, and I think Wes has obviously over the years put together one of the great troupes in modern cinema, and I think and everybody, all actors want to be in it. It's not just us. I think everybody kind of sees Wes's next poster come out and says, "Oh God, that would be so fun," and then it turns out it is, which is surprising because it's you never know how making a movie is actually going to be, and it turns out that Wes it's kind of like summer camp, and I think Wes plays the role that my character plays of kind of the scout troop leader, marching us through our skills and heading off on an adventure. And I think it was completely delightful.
Wearing shorts.
Just a completely delightful experience. It's fun to have a lot of the trappings that start to wrap up around movies taken away. Wes had us all doing our own hair and makeup and costumes, and coming to set in vans together, and no trailers, and it was kind of everything that you love about it when you're a kid and you have your own video camera in your backyard, and it's just a great spirit and great fun to be included in Wes's still growing company.
Mr. Balaban?
Well, I love Wes's movies, and so when he asked, it was very exciting, and I was really thrilled to be part of this. And, you know, Wes creates a magical world on screen, and he also creates a magical world to be in when you're in the thing that's going to be on screen. And it's all very critical to his work, is this thing that he creates that you get to be a part of. And we don't get to work in things that we care about deeply that often. So it's really a pleasure, you know.
Mr. Schwartzman?
Well, everyone has said everything so well. And it's just, it's always exciting to work with Wes and to be on set. And, you know, like they were saying, there are no trailers, and, you know, oftentimes everyone can run away and be isolated. But it really does feel like a community, and everyone's together and laughing. And it's also just fun to watch Wes because he loves it so much. He works so hard. And, you know, he makes these movies because he has to, and because he's going to enjoy himself, and he loves it. And it's just really exciting to be part of that. The clothes are very tight.
They don't fit well.
They don't, you know. My outfit was tight, and I don't get to experience that kind of tightness all the time either. So it's wonderful on a lot of levels. Thank you.
Question over there.
Hi, Rodrigo Fonseca, O Globo Brasil. Two questions. First one to Mr. Anderson. I would like you to say a few words about the cinematography, your collaboration with Robert Yeoman to build up the visual of the film. And the second question for Mr. Murray, if you could, throughout your career, you've been collecting partnerships with great directors, Jim Jarmusch, Ivan Reitman, and now Wes Anderson. I would like you to say a few words about those partnerships and the importance of them to your career.
Bob Yeoman, he's really the only, I've done a few little shorts and things with other people, but he's the only director of photography I've ever worked with. So it's sort of, he taught me how to work with a cameraman in the first place, we've worked so closely together. It's hard for me to picture what it would be like not to have him. With this movie, I think we tried a couple of new things. We worked in a different format, and we had some very tiny French Atan cameras that you can hold in one hand, and you can't even put them on your shoulder. You have to hold them down like a video camera. Really, we had 5 of those, and a lot of the scenes with Jared and Kara, especially sort of in the wilderness, we used those cameras. That gave us some sort of freedom that was something new. So anyway, Bill, you want to do your part?
Well, working with a director a couple of times it's a real pleasure. It's an honor to be asked back. You know, it's nice because sometimes when you work with a director, you know you not only may never see them again, sometimes you hope you never see them again. And that goes for the director as well. They can't wait for you to leave. They drive you to the airport to make sure you leave town. And that happens. But with Wes, I've never gotten a ride to the airport. And I like it. I don't mind. I can get to the airport. I don't need him to get me there. It's great to come to the job and know that, you know, we're sort of here to serve. That's what we're trying to do. You know, we try to serve. And, you know, I guess, we've sort of proven to each other that we're going to work hard. You know, we don't question, there's no question that we're going to work as hard as we can to do it. These are what we call art films. I don't know if you know what those are. They're films where you work very, very long hours for no money. And this is all we get is this trip to Cannes. That's it. There's no money involved. These are our own clothes. You know, there's no rental here. There's nothing. But fortunately, we've saved from other jobs we've worked on so we can work with Wes over and over again. But it's nice to serve. It's great to come and, you know, you just say, what do you want me to do? How would you like me to do it? And if you can bring more than is there, which is, you know, what we all shoot for, then everyone's happy. And it's, you know, it is a nice bunch. I mean, it's a goofy bunch, you know. I mean, look around. I mean, look at, I mean, the kids we're not sure about yet, you know, but they're goofy too.
Before we have a question, wherever it is, over there, there's a question for the 2 youngest actors. How did you establish a kind of rapport? Did you hang out together before the film started? Did you avoid each other?
Well, before the film started, we would go do rehearsals, test our chemistry like the month prior to filming. And also Wes had us complete those letters that you see in the movie. He had us, at first he had us email each other the letters, but we actually completed them. And then about midway through, he's like, wait, we should probably actually mail these because it's more authentic. So then we did, and we got all the way through. But yeah, and through that, I think we kind of got to know each other a bit. So that way when we actually went to start filming, we kind of knew each other and we would be comfortable with each other.
We did get to know each other. And after, the filming started, slowly it became, we trusted each other and we knew that this movie was going to end up great, especially if we worked well together, and we did. So that definitely helped us work.
But it was the two of you against the rest of them.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Question over there, then here.
Hi, I'm Nandini. I'm from India, and I love this film. I thought it was wonderfully quirky. My first question is, I'm here. My first question is for Mr. Wes Anderson. There's this very bold theme of children finding their sexuality. Are you worried about reactions to that? And my second question is to Mr. Edward Norton. Didn't you think Scoutmaster Ward deserved custody of the boy?
Let me think on that one. I'm not worried about that. That's sort of that's part of what the movie's about, and part of the reason to make the movie in the first place, I think. It's supposed to be a movie where it's the kind of story where these characters are feeling something that is beyond them. I think I wanted to feel that. That's where the script began for me. You ready?
Sure. Yeah, I actually wanted to challenge the idea that everybody else was against them, because I do think that Scoutmaster Ward and the cop are pretty much on their side pretty quickly. I think Scoutmaster Ward looks at himself as an ally of the children. But as to whether I think that Scoutmaster Ward should have ended up with custody of the boy, I think probably not, because I'm pretty sure that Scoutmaster Ward is headed for Vietnam within a year or two. And I think it was probably a better long-term home situation for him to end up with Bruce.
Sir?
Hi, Ben Hoyle from the Times in London. I gather from the press notes that both Bill and Bruce gave Jared some acting training and coaching and some sartorial advice while you were working on the film. I just wonder if both of you, Bill and Bruce, could tell us a bit about your secondary role as acting and dressing coaches for Jared.
Well, I do that with I'd like to talk with you about the way you look. But not in front of everyone, I think you should ask Jared that question. What's important is what landed, because I think Bruce and I just talk all the time, don't we? We're always
Stop. Can't really stop.
But Jared, what did you retain from what Bruce and I gave you?
Well, from you, Bill, you taught me how to tie a tie that day. When I had to put on the costume, and I didn't really know how to tie a tie. It's the and of course everyone else in the room, they were all women. They didn't know either. So I was kind of in a bit of a situation, and Bill just happened to be in the room next to the one I was in, and he could overhear, I guess, and he looked over and he came to the rescue. And he's like, Jared, come over here. I'll teach you how to tie a tie. So I did, and he taught me how to. I kind of like kneeled down. He kind of like wrapped his arms around me, and he kind of like taught me how to tie a tie. It was really cool. And then another time.
But Jared, you're not wearing a tie today. What does that say about what I taught?
And then also, Bill taught me that it's a good idea to hum every morning. And then I told that to Kara, just to warm up your voice, which I think is which really helped me. Thanks. And then Bruce, the first time I met him, it was right before we were filming our scene in the trailer, and then you came over and we rehearsed the scenes and we ran lines quite a bit. That was it kind of dawned on me. That's a great idea to actually help with memorization and just overall preparation, I think. Thank you.
What was that? I'm sorry. What was that one about memorization? Memorization.
That was the
four-syllable word. Yeah.
Oh, you guys memorize that stuff? We did.
The gentleman. Go ahead.
Peter Paul Hu, German television. I have a question to Mr. Anderson, Mr. Murray, and Mr. Willis. The film takes place in the mid-'60s, and there's a feeling of something is changing. And the children are the ones who go on this adventure. But there's an overall feeling of the circumstances are changing. I had this feeling of a kind of a pre-Woodstock sensibility in the film. Was that something that occurred to you as well?
Well, I mean, so their characters are 12 and 65, so when they're 18 years old, they're going to be in a very different kind of America, I think. That's kind of the reason to set it then, anyway. One little thing is that I think illustrates it a bit is that the island where we shot much of the movie was only accessible by ferry for however long it was populated. It probably changed very little in 100 years. And in 1962, they started building a bridge to Newport, Rhode Island, which was finished in 65. It became a suburb of Newport and filled with houses and shops and changed completely in a way that I think much of America did. It's a period when, after so much sort of stasis, there was radical change very quickly, and that's kind of reflected in the culture. I mean, that I have to say that's something I thought about after finishing the script. The truth is, when I was writing the part that Bob Balaban plays, the narrator, I just wrote a sentence. The year is 1965, and that was the first I had thought of it. So it was completely kind of instinctive. So I don't know really. I give more of an excuse for why I did it than a real reason.
A quick question for Mr. Coppola. We know by now how much of Wes Anderson is in the script. How much of you is in it?
It's hard to say. I mean, my role was really to help Wes pull this out of his mind and imagination, and there are a lot of things I related to, and there'd be examples of things I would bring up when we were trying to figure it out. But it's very much, sprung from Wes's imagination, with my help as a sort of midwife to guide it out and to help it find its shape.
The megaphone, in particular.
The megaphone.
Yes, Frances McDormand speaks to her children through a megaphone, which comes from your own personal experience.
Yes.
Thank you. Question over there, then the mic here, and then here. Go ahead.
Jan Lumholt from Swedish Daily News. Question for Mr. Willis. There is a film in your CV that I kind of started to think about now and then. It's called North. It's made some 25 years ago. It's a story about a kid who decides to separate from his parents, and you turn up. I think you even produced the film, if I'm correct. You turn up playing a rabbit, or
yes. A big rabbit.
A very big rabbit. I mean, there is a
big
side.
Pink rabbit.
There is a side to you that is, by the way, is a very underrated film that I liked very much. There is a side to you that is not entirely new when watching this film. Do you have any kind of? Can you expand on this a little bit? And Wes Anderson, did you at all know of this film North? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, is that
Yes.
is it Barry Levinson? Oh no, I have it wrong. Sorry.
Rob Reiner.
Sorry, Rob Reiner. Oh well.
Did North. It was like that film was a kind of precursor of the idea. But what Wes makes in this film look really simple is directing and trying to tell a story through almost 60 young kids that just seem like that they've been acting their whole lives, and it just makes it look effortless. And we're just standing out in the middle of a field and trying not to get bit by ticks, and it's a difficult task. It's a difficult task to keep everybody herded in and keep everybody really focused on the story. And somehow, and quite possibly because more than half of the people here and more than half the people sitting in this room knows what 1965 looked like and lived through that and what came after that, that there is a kind of doomed feeling to the adults in the film that and maybe that could just be me feeling doomed, but Frances McDormand is the real backbone of this film and really holds it together and holds the kids together, and she's not here to speak for her work, but she's great in this film and really strong in all these scenes, and is a great mom, and that mother figure is really what it was just right. It was just right, and the whole love story gone south is just a nice little side story to that. But she's really strong in this film. She also played a life-size rabbit in that film, and another film called North. I just ran out of stuff to say. I'm sorry.
Question here, then he will take just a few more. Question here, then the lady here. Go ahead.
Hello, it's Ninos Mikelidis from Athens News Agency, Greece. At first, congratulations to everybody for offering us a very refreshing film. Not usual for starting festivals. We were used to adventures and special effects and all that. My questions to Mr. Anderson is two questions, actually. The first is, I suppose you had in mind the Frank Borzage film Moonrise, and also maybe his other films which deal about romantic love. But besides that, you choose to set the film in '65, which is a special period with its own music, but you use a lot of Benjamin Britten. Why was that, and how far has it influenced your style, the flow of the film, even the colors, I think? Could you comment, please, on that?
Yes, the Frank Borzage, the influence, the main influence of that was I stole the title from it. I don't really know the movie that well. I saw it many years ago, but I always like Moonrise is not a word you hear that often. The Britain music is had a huge effect on the whole movie, I think. The movie is sort of set to it, and the music that Alexandre Desplat made original music for us is very beautiful, and I think it takes some inspiration from Britain as well. There's the play of Noise Flude that is performed in it. Is my older brother and I were actually in a production of that when we were when I was 10 or 11, and that music is something I've always remembered, made a very strong impression on me. So yeah, I think it is sort of the color of the movie in a way.
And then the lady here.
Ann Hornaday from the Washington Post. This is for Mr. Anderson again, and it's about cinematography again. Could you talk a little bit about the film stock that you used on this film, and also just where you come down with the film versus digital debate that's currently going on?
Well, I don't really know that I can speak very intelligently about the film stock. We shot it on Super 16. and that's the first time that I've done that. I will say I saw a magazine. I did an interview for a magazine, and part of the magazine is every piece has a little box that goes with it, how they did it, and it talks about all the equipment, the film stock, and everything. And they don't need the box anymore. Every single one in there just said HD, except for ours said Super 16. But I think, you know, in 2 years ours will have to say HD too. As far as I know, I think this option is disappearing. I understand Technicolor is in their last year of processing film stock at all. So even if you can get the stock, I don't know if you can. It's a big deal processing a whole movie's dailies and making sure things don't get lost and that it's all right. So I don't know. But I do think that maybe there's a great app that can make it look like this. But you know, to my experience, there's really no substitute.
Ma'am, and then the lady over there. Go ahead.
Hello, Charlotte Higgins from The Guardian. This is a question for Wes Anderson. I wanted to ask you a little bit about your relationship with children's fiction, which seems very intensely bound up with the material of the film, both in, actually, there are children's books in the film, but also it is rather like a children's book. It has that sense of the kind of Arthur Ransom era of children's storytelling. Could you talk a little bit about that, please?
Yeah, in particular, the idea that Kara's character is, you know, at a certain point, I'm writing the script. I noticed I've kind of got her carrying a suitcase, and I'm asking myself, what's in it? And we filled it with all these books. Somewhere along the way, I started thinking maybe the movie is one of her books, and the movie could be in her suitcase too. And it sort of became more and more. It kind of took on a fantasy atmosphere, even if the events are not magical in that way. You know, there's one particular set of books that are by Susan Cooper that made a very. Do you know them? The Dark is Rising series, Oversea and Understone in particular. Yes, Green Range. Yes, that set of books. I even sort of relate. My reaction to those books was I really wanted to believe these powers existed. I desperately thought at some point some evidence is going to come through and we're going to be able to say this is real. And I kind of feel like the atmosphere of somebody who's caught up in a story like that is like when you fall in love for the first time and the life it's like you're underwater or something, and it's really, you're in like a dream. So that's all kind of maybe a part of the story a bit.
Ma'am?
Eugenia Voda, critic roumain. Henri Béard
announced before the press conference that Mr. Anderson speaks French. If that's true, I'd like to put my question in French. I'd be keen to hear Mr. Anderson's accent in French. We often say that a genius is someone who can keep the fresh emotions of a child, no matter how old that director may be or that genius. He can still view the world through a children's eyes.
If I have to translate, go slow.
Wes Anderson does not speak French. No, I don't speak well enough to understand your question in the original. So my question is the following. How do you manage to retain this very fresh look on the world? How do you view the world still through a child's eyes? Because it is quite clear that you have retained this freshness. And also, from a psychological stance, in terms of all the characters in the movie, from a personal stance, Mr. Anderson, which character do you feel closest to?
The character tell me if I'm answering the wrong question. The character I identify with the most, I think, I do identify with this. I have some connection to all the characters, but I think the character that Kara plays is the one that I sort of. I will say this: there's a moment in the movie where in answer to a question that he's asking. She shows this book of, it's like a pamphlet, Coping with the Very Troubled Child, which she said she found in a refrigerator. That's one of the few things in the movie that actually is a sort of, if something that little counts as an autobiographical element. I did find the pamphlet on the refrigerator. And I knew, I wasn't the only child in the house, but I knew which one was the very troubled child. And I think if my brothers had found it, they would not have looked to themselves as the thing. Yeah, which was not, it's not a, not a great feeling, but yes, it became a funny bit.
Well, I'm afraid our time is up. Thank you all for being here. And
thank you very much.
And for the two young ones, welcome to the festival circuit. We ain't seen the last of you yet.